Let's talk about plastic. It's one of those materials that has totally changed our world. It's brought incredible benefits to medicine, to technology, to just our everyday lives. But here's the twist. Its greatest strength, the fact that it's so durable, has also created a massive crisis for our planet. A problem that is literally choking our oceans and, believe it or not, even finding its way inside of us. So how do we get here? And more importantly, what on earth are we doing to fix it?
Okay, just take a second to really absorb this. This quote, it comes from a biologist who was looking at what was inside the stomach of a single dead seabird, a doll's arm. It's a shocking way to understand the very real physical damage that plastic pollution is doing. This isn't some abstract problem happening far away. It's a physical burden, a fatal last meal for so many animals. And it's this reality that has really sparked a global movement for change. So to really wrap our heads around this whole thing, we're going to break it down into 5 parts. First, we'll look at the paradox of plastic itself. Then, we'll try to grasp the incredible scale of the waste problem. We'll check out one of the most ambitious cleanup efforts ever, then talk about why cleanup just isn't enough, and finally, we'll look at the choices that are going to define our future with plastic.
All right, first up, let's get into this central conflict. Because here's the thing. Plastic isn't inherently evil. Not at all. It's actually a revolutionary material. The problem isn't the plastic itself. It's our obsession with using it once and throwing it away, and our total failure to figure out what to do with it when we're done.
This slide really lays out the two sides of the coin perfectly. On one hand, you have modern medicine, which would be totally unimaginable without sterile, single-use plastics. Our electronics, our computers, the way we keep food fresh, it all depends on it. But then, on the other hand, that same amazing durability means it basically never goes away. It harms wildlife, it leaches chemicals, and over time it breaks down into these tiny things called microplastics that are now found everywhere, from the top of Mount Everest to, yes, inside our own bodies.
To really get the challenge we're facing, we have to look at the numbers. And honestly, they're just astronomical. The sheer amount of plastic we make and throw out every single year is almost impossible to even imagine.
Let that number sink in for a minute. 460 million tons every single year. That's roughly the same weight as every single person on Earth combined. And get this, half of all the plastic ever made has been produced in just the last 2 decades or so. It's an explosion of production that's putting our planet under incredible strain. So, of all the plastic waste we generate, this is the amount that leaks. This is the stuff that doesn't make it to a proper landfill or recycling plant. It's the bottle on the side of the road, the bag that blows out of a trash can, and it all eventually finds its way into our rivers and oceans. To put it in perspective, that's enough plastic to fill New York Central Park up to the height of the Empire State Building every single year.
And this chart, wow, this really shows you the heart of the problem. Just look at that tiny little sliver for recycling. Only 9%. Half of it just goes straight to a landfill. But it's that 21%, the mismanaged waste, that's the real source of the immediate problem. And even though only 0.5% ends up in the ocean, that tiny fraction still adds up to millions of tons of plastic every year.
So you might be wondering, if it's such a small percentage of all the plastic waste out there, why do we focus so much on the oceans? Well, it's because the ocean is basically the planet's last stop. It's where this super persistent material collects year after year, causing enormous and long-lasting harm. For a long time, we all pictured these giant, floating islands of trash, like the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. But here's the crazy part. When scientists actually went out and measured it, they found out it only accounted for about 1% of the plastic we thought was entering the oceans each year. This created a huge scientific mystery. Where in the world was the missing 99%?
Well, it turns out it wasn't missing at all. It was just hiding. Research now shows that most of it, about 80%, actually washes up on a coastline pretty quickly, within about a month. Some of the denser plastics sink to the bottom of the deep sea. But here's the most important part. All of it, no matter where it is constantly being broken down by sunlight and waves into smaller and smaller pieces, microplastics. These tiny bits get eaten by everything from plankton to whales, and crucially, they act like little toxic sponges, soaking up other nasty pollutants in the water, like pesticides, and then delivering those concentrated toxins right into the food chain, which, of course, is our food chain too.
So, with all this plastic hiding out in our oceans, turning into toxic confetti, what can we possibly do? Well, as it turns out, one teenager's simple question sparked one of the biggest environmental cleanup operations in history. The story of the ocean cleanup is just incredible. It's a story of huge ambition, very public failure, and just relentless determination. It all started in 2011 with a 16-year-old named Boyan Slat, who was on a scuba trip and saw more plastic bags than fish. His high school science project turned into a viral TEDx talk, and by 2014, he'd raised over $2 million. Their first big system in 2018, it failed, spectacularly. It just broke apart out in the Pacific. But Slat famously called it an unscheduled learning opportunity. So they went back to the drawing board, redesigned it, and by late 2019, they had a version that worked. And today, they've scaled up massively and pulled millions of kilograms of trash out of the ocean.
And their strategy is actually pretty simple and logical. They're attacking the problem from both ends. Step one is out in the ocean, where they're cleaning up the legacy pollution, the stuff that's been building up for decades in these giant swirling ocean currents called gyres. They use these huge floating barriers to naturally concentrate the plastic so they can scoop it up. And step two is all about stopping the flow. They deploy these solar-powered autonomous interceptors in the world's most polluted rivers to catch the plastic before it even reaches the ocean. And this is so key because their research found that just 1,000 rivers are the source of 80% of all the plastic pollution flowing into our oceans. Just 1% of rivers causing 80% of the problem.
Okay, this is a really crucial point. While these cleanup efforts are absolutely heroic and totally necessary, they're really just treating the symptoms, not the disease. To truly solve this for good, we have to go upstream, all the way to the source of the plastic itself.
You know, whenever volunteers do beach cleanups, they often do something called a brand audit, where they actually track the company logos on the trash they find. And year after year, it's the same names that pop up over and over again. A handful of massive global companies that make single-use products are responsible for a huge chunk of the branded plastic pollution found all over the world.
The real long-term fix here requires big systemic changes across the globe. We're talking about investing in better waste management, especially in developing countries. It means creating a legally binding UN Global Plastics Treaty, which, by the way, is being negotiated as we speak, to set global rules for production and disposal. And really, it all points to one big idea: shifting our entire economy away from this take, make, waste model and toward a circular one.
This table really just hammers home why prevention is so important. We call these things disposable or single-use, but there is no away when you throw plastic away. A plastic bag you use for what, 15 minutes? It can stick around in the environment for 20 years. That water bottle could be around for over 4 centuries. And your toothbrush? It could outlive you, your kids, and your great-grandkids. These things don't biodegrade. They just break up into smaller, more dangerous pieces. So all of this brings us to the big debate right now about where we go from here. We've got this planet-sized problem, and there are different ideas on how we should best use our time, our money, and our energy to actually solve it.
I love this quote because it so perfectly captures one side of the argument. A lot of scientists and environmental groups argue that, look, while cleanup is nice, it's a distraction from the only thing that will actually work: making way less plastic in the first place. They believe every bit of our focus should go towards prevention, towards turning off that overflowing tap.
And then, here's the pragmatic counterargument. Groups like the Ocean Cleanup say, hey, we can't just ignore the millions of tons of plastic that are already out there, acting like a ticking time bomb and harming ecosystems right now. Their position is that we have to do both at the same time. We have to mop the floor and turn off the tap.
Ultimately, pretty much everyone agrees that the long-term goal is this: a circular economy. It's about totally redesigning our systems. So what does that look like? It means companies designing phones you can actually repair, not just replace. It means cities setting up systems for reusable takeout containers. It means brands making clothes from recycled materials and then taking them back when you're done. It's a system where waste isn't an endpoint, it's a resource. You know, the plastic crisis is a direct result of our own cleverness, our ability to create this incredibly cheap, durable, and useful material. We basically engineered our way into this mess. But that same ingenuity, the kind you see in the engineering of the ocean cleanup, in the science tracking our waste, in the global policy debates, that is also our way out. The challenge is huge, for sure, but we are finally starting to tackle it at every level. The question really isn't if we can solve it anymore, it's if we have the collective will to actually get it done.